Well, I've had a few people asking me to do this side-by-side comparison between the Kraken Vekta and the FID Voltz. Of course, both those cars now are the brushless versions. There are a petrol version of the Hammer, and there are, of course, the Vekta comes as a petrol car box stock, and this is with the Wheelman Designs conversion kit. Basically, it's kind of similar type of car. Both of them are Ultra 4 rock racers, really, but they're also quite different. Maybe the most obvious thing is the Voltz has bigger wheels, and it's also it has more suspension travel, and it's not only about the setup, it's also a bit about how those cars are built actually. The Voltz feels more like the terrain car, and this one, the Vekta, feels more like the high-speed basher for like large open gravel areas or so. But let's take a look on the cars. Of course, both cars have light kits. This is FID Racing's own light kit. It's 5 big lights and also a tail light. And this is the Kraken light bar. They're quite strong, all of them. One good thing about the FID one is it's powered by 7.4 volts, so you can use the receiver battery. And that one is 3S, it's 11 volts, so it's a bit trickier to get to work. Okay, and here is my Mugen 8 scale, just for a basic size comparison. And as you can see, they're quite similar. The Voltz is slightly larger in every way. It's just this little bit longer in wheelbase. It's not much, it's a centimeter or something, and it's probably a few millimeters wider as well. It's definitely higher. Of course, that's adjustable, but I think, as I said, this is probably a bit higher anyway. The Voltz is heavier. I haven't weighed the Vekta yet, but I suppose it will be a few kilograms heavier. The Voltz is like 24 to 25 kilos with batteries, and the Vekta is, I guess it will be like 22, 23, something like that. Okay, so if we look at the rear of the cars, again quite similar. The Vekta has holders for spare tires as well, 2 of them actually, while the Voltz has this single large one. Of course, it's 2 solid rear axle trucks. Again, you can see the rear axle on the Voltz sits higher, and that's not the setup, it's probably the bigger wheels that makes that. Otherwise the chassis are quite similar. I turn the Vekta on its side, we have a look, and also the Voltz. And this beast of a car is heavy, I tell you. Now you can see it's basically quite similar setups. Of course, I have alloyed arms, front arms on the Voltz. That's the 2019 version. The older version had plastic arms. The Vekta, it has plastic arms, box stock. Otherwise quite similar, but not exactly the same, so you can really not say one of them is a clone of the other. Just look at the rear axles, it's very different. Since this is a gas car, from stock it has mechanical brakes. I don't have that on the Voltz. Okay, otherwise similar here. Now let's go to the more interesting, to some interesting features under the bodies. I just put the cars back. This is probably one of the biggest advantages for the Voltz. To remove the body on the Voltz only requires 1, 2 small clips, and then I do this and I just fold the body like that. And here's the battery trays. I can use a lot of different sizes. This is quite large. I can fit my entire hand in here, so for instance 2 very large 4S packs or even 4 smaller 4S packs can work in this car. Of course this is not the stock ESC, it's an MGM, but really it's nothing wrong with the stock one. It's a dual servo setup. You can't see the servos as compared to the Vekta, that's stock single servo, but some things are really nice with the Vekta too in this regard. To get the body of the Vekta, it's a more tricky bit since you need a screwdriver. Now I did this, I removed the screws before. Okay, so here it's just a battery for the lights. Here's one thing, it's better with the Vekta, it's a lot better receiver box than this tiny one on the Voltz. It's the brake servo, and it's a single servo for the steering. And that, I don't really like that. It's a quite heavy car. It's not as front heavy as the Voltz, but still it's a heavy car. I would have liked if it had been a dual servo. I know there is kits for that, and I will probably do that later, because when I drive this I can feel the steering is a bit on the slow side. Here's a ZTW ESC. This is actually the ESC that comes stock with the Voltz, and it's nothing wrong with those. It's not a good ESC for slow speed driving or for high S driving, but on 8S it's a good ESC. It's simple, it works, I have no issues whatsoever with them. Actually in some regards it's better than the MGM I have there, but the MGM can take higher C, and it also higher S I mean, and it can also handle crawling a lot better, and that's why I have it in the Voltz. Yeah, here it's the Wheelman Designs conversion kit with this battery mounting plate. It's for 2 batteries. This is smaller than the Voltz, but standard 4S packs fits, no issues whatsoever. Here's the motor. This is a Castle motor, the same 2028 size Castle that's in a lot of cars nowadays, compared to the Voltz that has a bigger motor stock. This is not the stock motor, but it's the same size. The motor I have, it's 480 kV, 70 millimeters diameter and 12 centimeters long, so it's a very big motor, almost 2 kilograms actually. But both of those cars have more than enough power, and both of them feels well built. If anything, I think the metal in this car, both the plate and the trailing arms and the axle, feels one step better than the Voltz. But really I haven't broken the big metal parts on the Voltz either, so they're probably both well up to their job. So now we just have to see how well they work in the long run. The Voltz I know because I have had it for more than a year and done a lot of running with it, and in general it has worked well for me. The Vekta, so far so good, I could say. It's not been any issues with the car itself. I had some electronic glitches, but that is probably that's not the car's fault, so we'll see about this. It feels like to drive, this is the more stable car. It handles turns at speed better, rolls less, and so on. But the Voltz, more steering, more capable in terrain. It's a really good jumper. I haven't really jumped this one yet so much, so I can't say that, but the Voltz is a really good jumper. So we'll have to wait and see. If you have any questions, you can post them below. I will probably talk more of the Vekta when I've driven it more. I've only driven like a few packs or something with this now, while the Voltz I've driven 100 packs. Yeah, and well, one thing I forgot to mention is, as I said, here the steering servo is a bit slow. There, since it's a dual servo, it's better, but maybe this will be good later on. Yeah, hope you liked the review, and I'll see you next time.